The county has been, so far, for the most part, following Governor Hogan's guidelines. And so we are kind of awaiting the phase 1 to phase 2 transition and anything that may come in between. In terms of a couple things that we do know, we know that Plein Air Easton in July, which is an event that we kind of hold near and dear, it's a great kickoff for the summer for us, is going to be cut down quite a bit. So it's really going to be a neat experience to see it more as a local event. There will be still quite a few artists coming in, but not as many in the past. It won't be as much of a competition atmosphere as it has been, and they're going to certainly try and spread out the artists more than they have in the past, as opposed to having 80 artists in one area on one day. They'll kind of spread them throughout the week a bit more, and so it'll be a neat. I think it'll probably be more of a local event in some ways than it has been in the past. But in terms of kind of where our businesses are, our downtown has been slowly but steadily reopening from the retail side since the governor's last executive order. We had a lot of our businesses opened up that first Saturday that they were allowed to, a little over a week ago now. And some were waited until that next week to come through and kind of cleaned up a little bit more, got a bit more spacing, set up their stores to be able to handle the capacity restrictions. And we do have a few stores that are still, either for health reasons or other reasons, have chosen to kind of stay put for May. And we'll kind of reassess in June, or reassess and kind of look at the numbers and see how everything is going. It's like everyone's been saying, it's a bit uncharted. We haven't seen this before. No one has experience with this, and so I think that it's understandable for some of our businesses that are cautious, especially in a rural area, to see where the numbers kind of go if we are going to keep flattening. And so we do have some that are in a position where they can kind of hold tight for a little bit and wait it out and see where the next phase takes us. Yeah, so Out of the Fire is one that we think of quite a bit because it's actually one of our few that has no outdoor dining, right? So we're sitting in the second outdoor area that Tidewater has, right? And so they have plenty of space here when that phase 2 comes and they start to allow outdoor dining on private property. But we do have a couple restaurants downtown that have no or very limited outdoor seating. And so we have had conversations with the town, with the police department. Those conversations are just starting now in terms of allowing tables out on the streets, that would also include potential closure of the streets. There's a few other ways that we can do it as well, potentially. So you could restrict street parking, so just shut down street parking, but allow the street to stay open, which would allow tables to move out into the sidewalk more and move pedestrians along the parking spaces, or vice versa. But there's no perfect plan, to be honest with you. I mean, we are looking at a few options right now, and no matter what we choose, I think that there's going to have to be some flexibility, both from the restaurants, the diners, but also the town and the county. There'll have to be some restrictions eased, certainly, in terms of dining on public property, or potentially changes during those days for open container. So I think that there are some considerations right now, and we had a long phone call just yesterday about how we're going to adapt this. And so I would expect to see something come out in the next couple weeks that will allow our restaurants to get back as quickly as possible. It's sensitive and it's important for us, especially in Easton, because our retailers know that a lot of their shoppers are driven by the experiential things that we have. Not so much just events, but sitting down at one of our many restaurants downtown, going to a show at the Avalon, staying here at the Tidewater, the weddings that happen here. And so I think that they understand that they're not gonna get back to that normal pace of things until people can get back into the restaurants and eating dinner and get back into the hotel rooms, which now the Tidewater's been reopened for a week now for hotel service. And it's going to be a slow build. we haven't heard of any type of, thankfully, there's no wood to knock on, but we haven't heard of any terminal plans or permanent closures in the historic district or downtown. I think that you're going to hear of national closures first, right? So a business that has 500 stores like Pier 1 and can look at everything from a bird's eye view it's much quicker for them to be able to see we're not going to come out from under this in a month or two. And they make that decision pretty quickly then to file for a certain chapter bankruptcy or just decide to liquidate the stores at that point. We know Pier 1's doing that, right, over by Hair of the Dog, on the bypass. We know, not directly from the Easton store, but from their corporate, that Peebles and Gordman's are closing out their stores just after they obviously just did the refresh here over by the theater. And so, we know that those national retailers are suffering. Certainly a couple stores that we just saw go out here in Easton, like JCPenney's and potentially now Sears, are also on that way as well. And we may see a few more nationals, to be honest with you. We haven't heard of anything for our downtown businesses. But again, for them, unfortunately, that news may take a little bit longer to set in because they don't have the large overhead expenses that Pier 1 might have to manage 500 stores. And so they can kind of have more of in some cases, they can have more of a wait and see approach in terms of where does the PPP loans fit into this, the EIDL loans, what's Maryland going to do, how's unemployment working, and all these things are new for our small businesses. These business owners have never filed for unemployment. They've never gone through this process before. And so a lot of it is riding on some of these stimulus packages that are being developed, and they can have a wait and see approach for a couple months. So if we enter phase 2 and our shoppers feel comfortable, and I will say from a positive light, we haven't had an issue here yet in Easton in terms of shoppers not wearing masks or not being respectful of the restrictions. And also we've seen that first Saturday they were able to come out, a lot of our businesses actually did pretty good business that day, safely. So our hope is that it'll continue in that direction, and the small businesses will be able to kind of make it through with the help of some of the local community and the stimulus packages and the like that's coming through. And so in terms of a silver lining, we had some motion that was coming before this hit a couple months ago. And one that we're really excited about is the old brasserie space, the old taste space, which Kay from Harrison's is taking over, which we're very, very excited about. He's got a presence in the community, his customers love him, and he's got a really neat idea for that space to turn it into more of a American fare, music focus. It just would be a really neat space, I think, for all ages, but it would be really neat for our younger crowd. We are constantly looking for things to attract more young professionals and young families, and having more affordably priced menu items along with entertainment and the like he's talking about would just be a perfect fit over there. Yeah, and we've got a few more properties. I'm not sure if we can talk about all of them, but we have a few more properties that are either at contract or have been sold, which we're really excited to see get open for the community. And of course, for those that, if you haven't noticed yet, Tim Curitan from Rise Up Coffee has opened up Rude Burger over at the El Dorado space, and also taken over formerly Barbecue Joint, which is now Rude Barbecue over there. Him and his brother Brett have taken that over. So it is neat to see the local investment kind of expanding right now and seeing opportunities to support the town and inject some life into some of the spaces. So from the local standpoint, the small business standpoint, again, fortunately so far we haven't heard of any kind of major disruptions in the historic district. But we are seeing the nationals, and we'll probably still continue to see a couple nationals that are going to fall on some hard times. We are excited. We just received a an envelope of gift cards from the Easton Premier Cinemas over there. We had so many that were bought from them, people that are excited to get back to the movie theaters, I think, when this is open. And they'll have their renovations at that point, too, which will be really neat. So they've got heated reclined seats. They're going to have a bar opening up. It's going to be a whole experience over there.